fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction, he's got really outside of both of them! Maloney!
Oh, he's taken Anderson! Anderson's up top here!
Oh my god! Oh. Big crash! Oh my goodness, half the field's gonna get rolled!
This is very close. These guys are going to want to make their way through the field very quickly.
Oh, here we go!
Oh no! That's massive! This is it! This is over! I can't believe this! Oh my god!
God, what?
Welcome one, welcome all to a SimSpeed TV presentation on the iRacing Esports Network. This is the international division of the Majors Series, the Rich Vogler Classic from Lucas Oil Raceway in Indianapolis. We're racing the USAC Silver Crowns around here for 100 laps. Certainly going to be an interesting oval race for these drivers in the international region. And they've gone through an awful lot of rounds with varied car and track combos, and we're getting closer and closer to deciding who is going to finish on top. My name is Reese Gardner. Joining me for this broadcast once again, Ryan Jones. Ryan, we're back onto the ovals. Rather flat banking here at Lucas Oil Raceway, but these are the kinds of tracks that the USAC Silver Crown loves.
Yeah, and the Silver Crown's an interesting car. It's been on the iRacing service for so long. It's a bit like our Director J in that sense. It's been on the service for so long, but no one really actively goes looking for it. And when it comes up, they're surprised it exists. But in saying that, it's actually a pretty decent race car. And can put on some good racing.
Yeah, for sure. These things are very light. They got V8 engines. They've only got 2 gears. You know, you've got hundreds of horsepower and hundreds of Newton meters of torque under your right foot. Who needs gears? So the drivers are going to be using all of their throttle application and steering nous around this track. We're right on board the Silver Crown, taking the high line up towards the top of the banking here. A bit of a late apex from Daniel Stevens, who's currently in P2 on the practice timesheets. Yes, and in the fence too. That's the thing with these cars. They're technically open wheelers, but they still have fender-like construction around those wheels. So,
I would describe it as a kart, a shifter car mixed with a sprint car that you put on the dirt, mixed with, I don't know, just 2 gears.
Yeah, I think I'd agree with you on that one. It's definitely a car that's only really raced in the United States, with the US Auto Club sanctioning their oval racing. And down here in Australia, you don't really see much of this type of car. But we're going to see who comes out on top in a very unfamiliar machine. We haven't raced this since one of the previous seasons at Phoenix Raceway. Let's take a look at the championship standings then. First up, the Pro Championship. After 10 rounds, Cameron Dance remains on top here in the Pro standings. Thomas O'Leary, 56 points behind. Now, Cameron away with a very good result last round. Thomas O'Leary and Will Leslie still in the championship hunt though. Dwayne Burns meanwhile, and everyone behind him starting to fall away. That's quite the gap.
It is, but interesting thing about Cameron Dance, Cameron has decided tonight to be more like Jake Sperry. For what reason, I don't know why anyone would want to do that. And he's racing on his controller.
He is indeed. He's currently in a motel. He's doing some work for the NZ Army, so he's away from home at the moment. So he set up the laptop, set up the little controller, and we're going to be seeing a very different kind of driving from Cameron Dance tonight. At least he won't have to worry. Yeah. Well, I mean, he's only got left turns to contend with, so I don't know if it's going to be much of a hindrance to him. The Sportsman Championship standings, meanwhile, it's starting to close up there between Stephen Williams and Gavin Barber. 55 points between the two of them. Martin Houston not far behind Barber though. He stands a chance of vaulting him if he gets a good result further on into the season. with Phil Otto rounding out the top 5. Still looking reasonably close there up the top of the Sportsman standings.
Yeah, and with Sportsman being in the same spot as Pro right now, opportunities or chances for those points to be really mixed up for those drivers. So it'll be interesting to see how that pans out. But they're not our only 2 championships here in the Majors Series. We've also got our Legends standings, which is now a 5-point buffer between Stadler and Stevens. That certainly came down after last round at Spa.
Yeah, certainly did. Harold Stadler not having the greatest of runs at Spa, and Daniel Stevens coming away with a points finish. So that's really closed up the battle between he and Stadler for the Legends Championship for drivers over 50 years of age. Wayne Taylor, a bit out of contention there in 3rd, and I don't think John King has much of a chance of getting further towards that top 3. But we see that there is a great variety of drivers competing in this series of all ages, all walks of life, all skill levels as well, and from many different countries too. This international region mainly created for the oceanic region of the world, but we're seeing a lot of teams from outside this area come in, like Kinetic International, 10,000 points in the Elite Team Championship standings. Middlefinger Racing Pro has taken the fight to them throughout the season, but once again, Kinetic, the best prepared team, the best represented team out there, and they get the results.
Yeah, 368-point margin back to MF Racing Pro. It's looking pretty good for them, and then the gaps just continue to balloon from there on back. Apex Racing Team in there in 7th as well, and then 7 in our Premier Team Championship. MF Racing Sports with the 1-2, 680 points between them and F Racing Casual in 2nd. Kinetic still there in 3rd.
Indeed they are. But in the Premier Team Championship standings, it is MF Racing Sports that has absolutely dominated, and they'll be looking to try and extend that championship lead here at Lucas Oil Raceway. So we're under 6 minutes to go now in the practice session. The driver's briefing has been completed. Drivers are back out on track, sussing out the circuit. The sun sets here in Indianapolis, and we are going to be racing under lights for 100 laps. Current time in sim is just past 21 minutes past 9 p.m. with Aston Hurley on top of the timesheets in MF Racing Sports. And of course, they've really started off their night well, the MF Racing Sports outfit. Once again, at the top of the Premier Team standings, and Aston looking quite comfortable there up in P1.
Yeah, so 2 100-lap races ahead of us here, Reese. Both limited to 55 minutes at maximum length. If you do get a bunch of cautions. Interesting thing to note, if you look on your iRacing at the moment and look, we do hard and fast on Wednesday nights, and we have plenty of heats and features and C main, B main, and all that. It tells you how many people are advancing to the feature from each heat. Well, according to this, advancing from Heat 1, which is our 100-lap race, into the feature, which is also a 100-lap race, 0 people.
Yes, well, I think that speaks to the grid size that we've got here, because we do have a bit of a reduced grid for this particular race. I don't think anyone is going to be in danger of being demoted, and I'm sure that number is going to change as
I hope so, otherwise no one's going through it all.
Yeah, we're going to have a completely empty second race, and we're just going to be we'll probably be commentating on the seams and the tarmac that you can see, or something like that. Will Leslie elevates himself up to P2 in the practice session, only 1,000th of a second between himself and Aston Hurley. So Will Leslie currently in the top 3 in the pro driver standings for the Kinetic Casuals, getting his night off to a good start as well. I'm actually noticing that there's quite a few drivers here up the top that we wouldn't expect to see, and that's the beauty of the majors. When it comes to oval racing in particular, certain drivers just seem to shine like they're not really able to on the road course races.
Yep. It is easy to drive an oval, but hard to master an oval. and we see that plenty of times in the Majors Series. Aston Hurley and Will Leslie doing a phenomenal job, and Daniel Stevens, Harold Stadler, Matthias Magnussen are only 1/10 of a second away, or less than 1/10 of a second away, the top 5.
Yeah, that's crazy, those times. This track is about 20 seconds in length in terms of time, so any kind of change you can make over a lap can either make or break it. Cameron Dance is out on track, meanwhile, getting used to the new controller setup that he has, and you can tell from his wheel inputs that he is not running his usual sim racing setup. He's keeping it nice and consistent, though, through the turns, not currently able to break into the rest of the field, and a little bit of a problem there for Cam, just glancing off the wall, getting fired into the infield. He's currently last in the standings. I think this is going to be a tough night for our championship leader, but Daniel Stevens, another MF Racing car up there in the top 3, and one of our drivers joining us on Zoom for this one. He's got the triple screen setup going, has Daniel, so he has a good view of everything that's going on around him.
And again, it looks like Daniel's really fighting as well, doesn't it? It looks like he's really tensed up, trying to wrestle that car around the racetrack, which is interesting. You know, it might suggest he's got high force feedback settings or something along those lines. Well, if you go back to Cameron Dance, looking at his steering inputs, he's spun again. You'd suggest, either controller or drunk or both, because he doesn't look comfortable at all, really. He is going to struggle. But the reason he has to do this race is because, well, we saw he's leading the championship, but only by 50 points.
Yeah, that's it. And as long as Cameron can get to the finish of tonight, he'll hopefully be able to hold on to that championship lead and consolidate it later on in the season. We don't have many rounds left before the season comes to its conclusion. So, once again, as long as Dance sees the checkered flag and gets some points, he should be fine. But it's going to be a bit of a tough ask getting that thing around the racetrack on a controller. And on the subject of Daniel Stevens, looking at his steering inputs, I think that really speaks to, A, the fact that he's using a direct drive wheel in his setup, and also the fact that the Silver Crown is very stiffly sprung. It's one of those cars that is designed to take corners at as high a speed as possible, and for that reason, the suspension gets stiffened up quite a bit, so you can use the maximum of the slick tires through the turns. But this track also very bumpy as well with those seams in the tarmac. It's going to be challenging for the drivers to get consistent lap times in, and they got to avoid doing that as well. As Shane Bowen demonstrates, getting sucked up into the wall. That's the thing with these cars that are sort of half open wheel. If you just tag the wall on the exit, the wheels can ride straight up.
Yeah, that's full Tony Hawk's spec, isn't it? That riding the fence is. We are gonna head into qualifying now. It's a 10-minute session. This qualifying, single car as always on oval, or as normal on oval, which means all out there at the same time, but can only see all out there at the same time, but they can only see themselves, and they have 4 laps.
That they do. And drivers coming out onto the racetrack now. Cameron Dance was one of the first drivers to make his way out onto the circuit, and he's just almost had another half spin, as has Luke Critchley, putting the power down out of the final corner. These cars may only have 2 gears and a very wide power band, but once they snap, very difficult to recover. See what Luke Critchley can do here. And demonstrating one of the aspects of this circuit that is going to be very important. The drivers aren't going all the way to the inside of the turns. They're leaving a lane or 2 on the inside because the banking gets a bit more progressively higher as you go up the circuit. So you might look at the track from the air and think, oh, fastest line, just stick to the inside through the turns. But no, it's not actually the fastest way around here. No,
it's not. It's because of the banking. the low line works on most ovals because of the banking. The top becomes, well, it keeps you glued to the racetrack and carry more speed. But if you come to a flat track like this, almost flat, it's got a little bit of banking in it. You can't carry as much speed to the inside as you want, and so you've got to slow the car up more. Whereas you can really drive it around the top side of the racetrack, keep the momentum up, keep the steering wheel more straight. You get a better exit as well, and in theory, it's the quickest way around. It's interesting though because I ran a couple of truck series races here a couple of weeks ago, and I was pretty much riding the fence through the corners. They're not quite at that line in the Silver Crown.
No, not quite. They want to stay as far away from that wall as they reasonably can, I think. So the first sets of lap times have come in, and Harold Stadler is on provisional pole. 20.031 is the time. Will Leslie and Dwayne Burns not that far behind him. And we look to Aston Hurley, currently in 18th position. And of course, topping the timesheets in practice. And all the way up to position 8 for that first lap, which is a good opening run.
Well, is it? Generally, first lap is the fastest lap on ovals.
Generally.
Unless it's a place that's close to full throttle. Because then you build up your speed. And Aston's done a good job to improve on his second lap as well. I tell you what, I don't reckon he's got enough in the tank to grab pole here. Harold Stadler and Will Leslie, very strong.
Yeah, well, we'll see. That lap was slower there, 20.26 from Aston, and that's not going to be an improvement for him. We've still got a couple of drivers left to put times on the board. Tyler Bish here, and Michael Skurlock as well. Aston Hurley's run is over. He will start no better than 6th place, it seems, because it's been pipped there by Dean Moll and Shane Bowen up ahead of him. Skurlock begins his times as we see the first time come in from Tyler Bish. 20.4 from him. See what Michael Skurlock can do in the number 21, running a very high line through the turns.
Yeah, Skurlock has a lot of overall experience. He'll probably want to use a bit of that line, getting right up towards the fence. Opts not to in 1 and 2 though, so probably actually is trying to find some pace to begin his lap. Let's see what he does. Daniel Stevens as well on a lap at the moment. In fact, Skurlock ran pretty low through 3 and 4 that time, keeping the car well down. Only about a lane above the apron as he comes across for a 20.407. Doesn't seem particularly fast.
Yeah, and he's on the 3rd of his 4 laps now, and doesn't look like there's going to be much of an improvement from him there. Turns in a bit early for turn 3, goes up the racetrack a little, and then brings it back down to about 1 lane up from the inside out of turn 4. And with a 20.243, that is an improvement to position 15. We'll see if Michael can improve on that. If he wants to break into the top 10, he's going to have to find at least a 10th. So across the line he goes, out of the final turn. And that's a 20.205. Not bad at all. Up to 11th for Michael Skurlock. So I think that shows that that your times can improve over the course of a run. But yeah. I think still the wisdom holds true that that if you want to really get your fastest time down, you got to do it right out of the box.
Yeah, it might suggest that these cars aren't too harsh on their tires, but I would expect the opposite looking at the attitude of the cars over the last few minutes in practice and qualifying. They're throwing it into the corner. They're sliding it in. It doesn't seem particularly smooth. And as soon as you start sliding into the corners, it's fast, but you'll chew through those tires real quick. And in fact, everyone has completed their qualifying runs already with still 4 minutes left in the session. So here's your starting grid for race 1.
Indeed, it's going to be Harold Stadler and Will Leslie. Only 0.02 of a second between those guys up on the front row, and I think that's Stadler's first pole position of the season, which is great to see. Dwayne Burns is going to start in 3rd alongside Shane Bowen, so an all-avatar auto racing second row. And I remember back a couple of seasons when we ran the Silver Crown at Phoenix. Both Burns and Bowen were very strong, so looking forward to seeing what they can do. Dean Molt, the fastest kinetic car, up there in P5 alongside Mr. Aston Hurley. Matthias Magnussen and Daniel Stevens are going to share row 4, with Matthew Clote and Luke Critchley rounding out the top 10.
Michael Skurlock will start from 11th with Jake Fox alongside him. Gavin, Barber and Tyler Bish lining up on row 7. Stephen Williams and Wayne Taylor 15th and 16th. John King and Johnny Bell 17th and 18th. Jonathan Ben and Bradley Matheson 19th and 20th.
Yeah, it's a 25-car grid for this. They are followed up by Phil Otto and the championship leader Cameron Dance. Unfortunately, he could do no better than a 20.48 starting from 22nd position. Going to be a tough night for Cam. Mirko Dortonak lines up in 23rd alongside Pierre Cousin, and Craig Hawkins is the final and 25th car on the grid. 20.96 the time from him. So the entire field covered by a bit less than a second, which is which in, I guess, a lot of road racing terms, you'd say that's a close grid. But of course, we are racing on a 20-second long oval. So I think with that kind of spread, we're going to be seeing some traffic issues in the second half of these races.
Yeah, for sure. It's going to be interesting to see how these races play out in terms of how much green flag running we get. Because generally on the ovals, we've had a few cautions, haven't we? Early on as drivers sort themselves out, but certainly expecting green flag running and plenty of it at some point. Maybe more so in race 2 once drivers have figured out how to race in this car.
Yep, I would agree. This first race is going to be more of a sounding out kind of session for the drivers. It's only a minute and 20 left until we can get into the race session for the first of our 2 100-lap races here tonight. And looking at the track, well, it looks wide, doesn't it? Does Lucas Oil Raceway, formerly Indianapolis Raceway Park. But as we've seen from the lines that drivers have been running in practice and qualifying, the actual usable, pacey line around the circuit is a bit narrower. So if drivers are going to be making a move into these corners, which you do have to use the brakes for, they're going to have to find some way to maintain momentum through the corner and try and get the best exit they can. They're not going to have any wings helping them either. As you've seen, these cars have absolutely no aerodynamic elements on them. So it's all about mechanical grip, all about how you can muscle the car through those banked turns.
Yep. Going to be pretty tough for these drivers today. Daniel Stevens will really have to muscle his way through the turns with this force feedback. You know, one of the cool things RSing added was in the latest update is the ambient sounds around the racetrack. PA announcements, pit entry alarms, whistles, and things like that. Crowd noise, birds, general ambient stuff. But the thing that I love is that when I was sat in my pit box earlier today, my Olipop man yawned at me.
God. I'm gonna have to switch that on and see that for myself. But it's another great addition to the iRacing service. A great build that came out over the preceding week. There are the conditions: 23 degrees, air and track. There's no sunlight here heating up the circuit, and not much wind either, which I reckon is going to make for some interesting racing. So the gridding period almost up, and we'll be led away for a couple of caution laps behind the iRacing pace car. We've returned to the trusty old Ford Mustang for the iRacing pace car here tonight. Good to see the old girl getting a run.
Yep, certainly is. And it will get out there for a couple laps behind the pace car, in front of the field, and then we'll fire off. Wow, having a shocker today, aren't we? I don't know how this race is going to pan out, to be honest with you.
feel like we do have a bit of trouble with English a lot of the time here at SimSpeed TV. I know that I've been guilty of a lot of flubs myself, but I think you're setting a new record here, Ryan.
Yeah. I think it's because I've tried to erase all of my English heritage. I've done it so much that I've actually erased some of the English language from my vocabulary.
Yeah. Well, I definitely know about that. I have a bit of English heritage, and I guess I'm doing my part to kind of erase it myself. But it looks like the gritting period is over. All the drivers have lined up, and away pulls the pace car. So Harold Stadler and Will Leslie leading up the field. And these 2 caution laps are going to be the period in which the drivers put their race setups back on the car, put all of the fuel in the tank, and at this albeit reduced pace, they are going to suss out what the track is like, how their car handles through these turns. Once they get up to speed, that is when the action is really going to start.
I'll be honest, if they're only trying to put the race setup on the car now under these 2 pace laps, there might be a slight issue there, Reese.
Okay, before they set off then, I'll correct myself.
They'll find that a little bit difficult. And running out of fuel in about 5 laps' time, which would lead to about a 20-stop race, which I don't think is particularly time effective.
You definitely get your glory at the front of the field, though, wouldn't you? At least for those 5 laps.
Yeah. Harold Stadler going to lead us to the green. Will Leslie to his outside. How are these cars going to race? We are about to find out. Open wheel bumper cars that look like sprint cars at Lucas Oil Raceway.
All right, then into turn 3. Will Leslie pulls ahead of Harold Stadler slightly, but Stadler's backing up the pack. Leslie doesn't want to be ahead of him when the green flag flies. The green flag does fly, and Harold Stadler is away. Doesn't look like a very spectacular start because these guys are starting low in the rev range.
Oh, there's contact already.
Already contact between Leslie and Stadler. Leslie has to file back, and that's Dwayne Burns into the lead. Dean Mole on the inside of Will Leslie coming through as they come round to finish the first lap, side by side between Mole and Leslie as well, but Stadler back up into second place and chasing Dwayne Burns, who seems quite comfortable up there in the front as we've concluded our first lap of running. Oh, a little bit of contact between the two of them. Harold Stadler goes wide, and Shane Bowen might have a bit of a run here at a top 3 position.
It was the move from Dwayne Burns to take him 3 wide that forced Harold Stadler up the racetrack a little bit and into Will Leslie. But Leslie did a good job to hang on to it as rear end got away from him. Now we're on lap 3. All has settled down just a little bit again. And you'll see the only way to get by on this racetrack is to go low and really try to throw it in there and almost slide up into that guy on the outside. Or try your absolute best to somehow get to their right side, which only really ever happens if they're down low trying to make an overtake. So it can be quite tricky here.
Yeah, certainly can. Oh, we got a caution out. There's been an incident up at the back. That's an MFR car. Bradley Matheson involved in an incident up at the back. So already 5 laps in, we have our first caution of the race, and Matheson's car missing its front bumper, and oh, that looks like some pretty hefty suspension damage for Bradley. So he's going to have to bring that into the pits and get the spare car. There are fast repairs allowed in the Majors Series. Let's see what happened to him here. The number 98 car he's racing with. Oh, there we go. So the first victim of the wall, and
his teammate as well.
Oh, Jonathan Dean.
Yeah. Damn.
That's a big shame there for MF Racing. You don't want that kind of incident this early on, but fortunately, Jonathan and Bradley will be able to get back out there with fresh cars. So Dwayne Burns, he rocketed away into a comfortable lead when the caution came out. We'll see if he can repeat that. He has got a very hungry Will Leslie behind him, though, and Harold Stadler, our pole sitter, will want to try and get that lead back.
Remember, the top 10 will be inverted as well for race 2, which will make things interesting. Points system. race. 2 races, 1 round. How's that points payout going to work?
That is a very good question. That is. Yeah, you cast me a line and I avoided the hook completely. But I think it's going to be all about consistency.
That was a co-commentator who didn't know the answer to a question, so he threw it to the lead commentator, but the lead commentator didn't know either.
Yes.
Lucky our director knows.
Yeah.
Were you listening?
Yeah, yes, I was. Jay has chimed in and said equal points distribution for both races. So the driver who wins both races here will undoubtedly take the round crown. But, of course, there's a lot of permutations in that as well.
I hope that wasn't intentional, because it was shocking.
What?
It's a round crown.
Oh, okay. See, that's something that I do all the time. I make unintentional puns, and I get everyone around me miffed, and then I wonder why. Some things never change.
Hey, let's out the pace car are out, which means we're going to go back to racing next time by restarts. Looking like they're going to be double file here as Dwayne Burns and Will Leslie get ready to form up.
Indeed they do.
Cameron Dance, by the way, his receive throughput, his internet, went kaput at the start of this race. So he's 6 laps down, running stone cold last right now.
Yeah, that's no good for Cam on the back row of the grid at the moment as the pace car pulls in. See how well he holds up. And if he can gain a couple of positions by the time the checkered flag falls in this first race of the night. Dwayne Burns goes early, just before the green. He timed that start perfectly, and he's already got an advantage over the rest of the field. Leslie, protecting Dean Mole, gets into the wall. His wheels have been sucked up into the barrier, and that's resulted in quite the loss of speed and position. He is right back in the pack now. Oh, wait! Oh, and that's taken out another couple cars too.
Stephen Williams,
John King as well, sent right into the wall.
Dornack involved as well. John King is going to have to take a tow because he ain't recovering from that. That started all the way back at turn 1 for
that it did.
Dean Mole, and then because he was up against the fence, around it went again. There was an orange flashing light on John King's car. I'll investigate that in a minute on the top. Here's the replay.
All right, so we saw there that it was contact between Mole and Stadler that sent Dean up into the wall, and that's John King's perspective. There was nowhere for him to go. That's a big shame. And see the flashing light there? That is the sign that the caution is out. So like a lot of oval racing cars, the drivers get an in-cockpit notification when the caution comes out.
It's quite large, isn't it? From a shopper cam, it actually looks like it's on the chassis bar, which is what threw me off. But yeah, well, in NASCAR, they don't have that. Of course, they have it in IndyCar, don't they? So, good addition for the drivers. Luckily, iRacing doesn't exactly hide the fact that a caution comes out. You've got the spotter, you've got the in-game lights, you've got the giant black box that comes up on your screen. If you miss it, there's another issue you've got.
Yes, indeed. And it looks like Bradley Matheson has gotten the lucky dog, being allowed to come back around to the back of the field, unlap himself.
There is an incident cap as well of 16 for these races. You get 4 for a spin like that, or a crash like that, so got to be careful.
Yeah, you certainly do. And John King there in the pits and out of the car, so I don't know if he's going to be making a return, and if he does, it's going to be quite a few laps down. Craig Hawkins and Mirko Dortonac, meanwhile, have come out of the pits. Dortonac with repairs and Hawkins taking service as well. They're going to come out of the pits and come round to the back of the field just as they are coming across the line now. Dean Mole as well out of the pits, but with a bit of a bent machine there in the number 31.
Fast repairs available to them, don't forget. One fast repair in majors, but it's lap 14. I wouldn't be taking it yet.
Nah, certainly not. Not unless your car was completely totaled, because you do only get one spare car. That's something we talk about a lot in the majors. How you take your fast repair too early and you have an incident later on in the race that requires it, well, you're basically up the creek without a paddle. There is no way to save you. But across the line we go, lights off on the pace car, 1 to green. Going to go racing once again. Can Dwayne Burns keep his lead from Will Leslie? So up the front, Dean Mole is no longer in contention. So that brings up Shane Bowen and Aston Hurley to try and fight for these top positions. Daniel Stevens lurking there as well for MFR.
Can we get a restart without a bright blue car getting thrown up into the fence?
The question of the night. We shall see. Round the turn they go. Will Leslie wants to go a bit early again, but Dwayne Burns catches them all by surprise. Pulls out a couple of car lengths on Mr. Leslie as they cross the line. And through goes Aston Hurley on the inside of Shane Bowen. Just pulls ahead there of the Avatar Auto Racing number 10. We look back from Aston Hurley up into P4 now. So he's starting to show more traces of his pace in practice. Dwayne Burns with an excellent lead now, and it looks like Leslie, Stadler, and Hurley are going to be the place to watch in the top 5.
Happy to report all blue cars safe and added around lap 1 this time, for the first time today, off the start.
Good stuff. Matthias Magnussen there taking the late apex as we look at Michael Skurlock trying to chase down Matthew Cloet. Cloet runs a little bit wider. That's going to give him a bit of extra exit speed, and he's going to just shut the door on Skurlock. We look from Luke Critchley, who's still in the top 10. No change from his starting position, but he has got a great view of this battle.
Nothing you can really do at the moment, though, right now. You can see them all basically sort of one-up each other in terms of going low through the corner. It's not in that first group of 6 and 7. Then you get a little bit further back. There's the side-by-side race car. That's Dean Mole getting by Phil Otto, whose car looks like it's been headfirst into the fence, which it probably has.
Yeah, it's not a great place for Phil Otto to be in, and he's going to come up against the number 98 of Stephen Williams. That's a change for position there across the line. Meanwhile, battle for the top 4. Aston Hurley is really pressuring Harold Stadler. He goes down low out of the final turn, and Will Leslie as well, trying his best to stay in contact with Dwayne Burns, but Hurley really looking to make a move here.
Needs to set himself up out of the corner. So right now he's going to want to drive it in deep and fire it up to the top and turn down off the top of the racetrack, get the power down early. He hasn't done that. And then, he got it. He did get the power down early, but it was a bit too early. Ended up in the safety barrier. And then, from getting that move, you do it a couple times. Eventually, you're going to get the run. And then at the next corner, you can get down to the inside line. And you can try a slider. Or you can try to hold your own down low, which is really tough.
Yeah, especially in these cars. Once again, you don't have wings to help you. But Will Leslie getting a good exit on Dwayne Burns for the lead. And trying to sneak up the inside, but Burns, carrying extra momentum up the top, keeps the position. That just goes to show how vital it is to run that outside line around here. But Will Leslie starting to get into the rhythm of things, and a little bit of a mistake there from Dwayne Burns. Tiny slide on exit. It's not going to harm him that much, but you can see Leslie trying to line it up, and Hawkins, very slow, down on the bottom. That's been a crash at some point. But Mr. Burns holding off very nicely.
See how Leslie drives a lot higher than Dwayne Burns into the corner. And then he turns down earlier. Look how much quicker he was through 1 and 2. And Burns again drives it in shallow. Leslie is taking a much higher entry.
Yeah, much more aggressive.
Yeah, Burns is having to check the car up more to get it stopped.
Yeah, you see how he just takes the line a little bit more shallow and wider on exit, but you see Leslie going for the late apex at every turn, trying to get on the throttle just a little bit earlier and get the run for the move up the inside. But it seems like you can gain a lot of time in these cars, but once you get up behind another car, it gets much more difficult. Stadler and Hurley, meanwhile, they've spaced out a little bit. Hurley, of course, carrying a little bit of damage now, thanks to the tap and whoops-a-daisy he had with the wall just before.
It doesn't do much for the argument of low downforce creates racing, does it?
I think it's also down to the track as well, I think. Oh,
You've got right out of turn 4 to the inside, all the way down to the inside on the apron. But not able to slide up in front of him. Not able to keep the car there. Burns holds on.
Only just. It seems like Will Leslie getting the lead is a matter of when, not if, because he's really nailing the throttle application every single time. Meanwhile, seems like there's a fight starting further back in the field because Daniel Stevens is having to hold off against Matthias Magnussen. Battle for 6th, 7th, and 8th. Oh, and Magnussen up the inside of Stevens now. Can he get the better exit? No, he cannot. The track is just too narrow.
Wait, caution! Right in front of the leaders. Cameron Dance.
Oh, okay. Well, looks like the leaders managed to escape, but Cameron Dance not having a great time on that controller. We'll have to take a look and see what happened to him, thanks to our friends at Modem Simulation. Now, was this a hit with the wall, or was it oversteer on exit? Well, we watch to see. Comes down to the bottom. Okay, this is probably going to happen. Oh, yeah, I think he just turned in too late. Smashed into the wall, and the leader's just avoiding him there. Will Leslie, very lucky.
Both of them. So lucky to get away with that. You see it from onboard Will Leslie now as well.
And he was making a move on Burns at the time as well. Of course, there's Dance spinning in front of them, and oh no, got to take avoiding action. Tell you what, if Leslie had kept his foot in, he would probably have made contact with Dance, but he probably would have also gotten the lead just in time. But that's just one of those things that that's just one of those things about oval racing, I guess. One little fraction of a second can make all the difference.
And Dance's car now looks absolutely terrible. That front end has been crushed in, bent, and thrown off kilter, so he's going to have to come to pit road and take a fast repair, I suspect. That's probably giving him a meatball that he has to serve. There's John King.
And Bradley Matheson coming into the pits, and this is for position between Matheson and King as they both pull in. Johnny Bell brings it into the pits as well as Stephen Williams, getting some fresh rubber on the car, top up the tank, and away you go. So currently the leading car off the lead lap is Craig Hawkins in car 14, and it looks like he's just gotten the lucky dog now, so he can unlap himself. Get back up to the rear of the field. So Craig Hawkins now back onto the lead lap. So that's the first step of what's going to be quite the arduous recovery for Craig.
In terms of pit window, can they make it all the way on their tank?
This is another good question. The biggest amount of fuel you can put in this car, I'm checking it now, 283.9 liters. And somehow,
is that all?
Somehow, I think that's enough to do 100 laps around this track. Especially if you include caution. Unless they're using 3 liters a lap, in which case, God, you're in trouble.
That's one of the largest fuel tanks I've ever seen. Just a small race car as well.
Yeah, well, I think the fuel is like obviously the protruding rear of the car is where a lot of the fuel is stored.
Just one giant fuel tank.
Just one giant fuel tank, yeah. And I think there might also be fuel tanks in the side pods as well. You could probably fill the left one up a little bit more and help the weight distribution of the car through these left turns.
Yeah, the bumpers are just fuel tanks. That's what they are. So if you hit them, you're going to go for a bit of a slide.
Kaboom!
Yeah, all that.
Oh,
restart's been delayed.
There's been an incident between Stephen Williams and Bradley Matheson. They've come together on the track. I'm just going back to check now. So Matheson seems... Oh, there was a checkup. There was a checkup back in the field. So the number 98 of Stephen Williams had to slam on the brakes because it was Pierre Cousin who was slowing up. In fact, the entire field was checking up. It's just Stephen Williams, I think, a bit late to react and went for a bit of a slide, made contact with Matheson as well, just behind Cousin there, as you saw. So that's the reason for the caution being delayed.
But now we get to go back green, and very early jump from Dwayne Burns.
Once again, but looks like he had to check up a little bit because Will Leslie got a great second phase of the start and is right with him. So the pressure is now on for Dwayne Burns. Leslie getting a slightly better exit on the throttle, but not able to take advantage down the straight as the field files through once again. Aston Hurley has managed to get up into third meanwhile versus Harold Stadler. So now into the top 3 and chasing. Have a look at Bowen and Stevens. Avatar Auto Racing versus MF Racing, and Stevens with the outside line getting the run up into P5, doing well. Oh, that's an issue for Cloet.
So up top.
Whoa.
And a wiggle out of turn 4 as well. Now it's in the middle of 3 wide. That's another issue.
Yes, indeed. It's going to happen again. The number 13 of Wayne Taylor trying to take advantage just behind. So hopefully Cloet can get back into a rhythm. He's back there with Dean Mole now for 13th and 14th position. And that pack is headed up by Gavin Barber in the number 7. Got a few car lengths towards the battle between Tyler Bish and Luke Critchley. And then it's another gap further ahead to the 6th, 7th and 8th battle of Shane Bowen, Matthias Magnussen and Michael Skurlock.
Leslie is, again, keeping Burns for very close company, much like he was for most of that last stint as well. Aston Hurley and Howard Stadler not too far away. Staying with him for now as Dean Mole drops a couple spots.
Yeah, another issue for Dean. I'm gonna run back quickly and check what happened to him. It was another hit of the wall between turns 1 and 2, and he was actually quite lucky not to get flipped by that. It looked like the car was going to ride up, and oh, that's a problem there for Shane Bowen. Contact, and that's the caution out once again. Made a little bit of contact with Michael Skurlock as well, but Skurlock got away with it. So now Bowen has to focus on getting that thing turned around, and we're going to take another look at what happened there. So Bowen was on the outside with the kinetic machine, and once again, just a little bit of a tap of the wall, but once the rubber hits that safer barrier, the car just goes up and away.
We're almost at halfway here for race 1 as well, so a lot of drivers being caught out by these cars, aren't they, in the early stages of this first race?
Yeah, that they are. It seems like it's tempting in a car like this because it turns a little bit better on throttle, so it's in your best interest to get on the throttle as early as possible and get on the power nice and early. But as you do exit, that wall comes up quite fast, so not going to be a fun time for certain drivers. We'll have about a lap to go in this caution when we cross the line next. And it looks like the number 6 of John King unlapping himself now gets the lucky dog, and he will be 2 laps down on the leaders when we go green next.
Should note with these cautions as well, there's no green, white checkers today, so they won't have any extra laps to do.
That's it. It's 100 laps, and you run and done. And this has actually gone by a little bit quicker than I thought it would on lap 48 already. 100 laps does seem like quite the distance, but in cars like this, on a track like this, it just flies by. So, lights almost out on the pace car. It looks like we're going to go for one more lap after this as the field comes back around. Dean Mole has come into the pits for more repairs. He's just exited, so he's going to be last of the lead lap running cars. Johnny Bell ahead of him now for position.
All right, lights out. We'll go back around this time by.
No lights out. How long is this caution going to be?
Just a few more laps.
Yes, well, we're gonna be waiting then for Johnny Bell and Dean Mole to come up to the rear of the field as they just have. So now the field is going to form up properly on the next lap. Everyone is together, and we can get going racing once again.
Want to make a bet on it?
I'm going to decline that. We're going to see if the lights turn off on the pace car coming across the line. Come on, mate, come on. Lights off. Yes, there we go. So, 1 lap to green. Can Dwayne Burns continue to hold off the advances of Will Leslie? Can Aston Hurley protect his 3rd position from Harold Stadler? Who's going to win the battle for the final position in the top 5? Daniel Stevens alongside Matthias Magnussen. Tyler Bish and the very lucky Michael Skurlock escaping an incident to stay in 7th place. And there was a bit of a brake check there from Magnussen in the middle of the field, which kind of upset people for a second or two. But the pace car comes into the pits. No harm, no foul, at least for now. Dwayne Burns goes for the early start once again and gets the run. Aston Hurley was very quick on the reaction as well, challenging for second now versus Will Leslie and just getting the position in the mid-corner, but no, Leslie drives around the outside and keeps second position. So Aston Hurley now showing that he is a proper contender for the top 2, maybe even for the win. Wayne Taylor is around. He's managed to get going again, though, so no caution for him. No caution. Thank goodness. We can keep racing. Harold Stadler falling back a bit now. He's been passed by Daniel Stevens and is now facing a lot of pressure from Magnussen and Skurlock. But Stadler's going to be right back on the bumper of Daniel Stevens there in the number 8. Oh, maybe not. Slight slide from Stadler coming out of turn 4. Now Magnussen is seeing a chance.
Yeah, riding that bottom side, trying to take the shortest route around the racetrack. Skurlock behind him, Stadler in front. All the way down to the apron there, actually. Clipped the yellow line. And caution's back out.
Okie dokes. So, that's Cameron Dance there, bringing out his 2nd caution of the night, it seems.
Yeah, really controllers don't work that well.
Yeah, surprisingly. Let's see the modem simulation replay. Oh, yeah, wow. Got a bit of a slide on and couldn't quite correct it. So came to a stop on the track and a little bit of wheel hop as well for good measure. Poor Cameron Dance now 7 laps down on the leaders.
Not a good day for his championship hopes.
No, certainly not.
But there's still another race to come.
Yes, this is true. So hopefully Cameron works out his issues and he'll be able to at least stick with the lead lap pack in the 2nd race. But it's certainly going to help the likes of Will Leslie in the championship hunt if Dance's luck continues tonight like it has. But Burns has been the absolute master of the restart here. He's just gone early, taken advantage of the extra couple tenths of a second that those reaction times give him. And with the amount of cautions that have been coming out, it seems like that's been a very good strategy for Burns. Just jet away in front and try and stay in front until the next caution comes out.
But who knows? Who knows? 44 to go, another race as well. Half points in this one, half points in the next one. Evenly distributed. And Shane Bowen gets the lucky dog. Get himself back on the lead lap.
Yep, of course, Burns is leading. Well, he was leading the race. Will Leslie just showed up in the lead on my end, but I know that's not true on my timing screen. But Bowen and Burns, one half of the Avatar duo, having some poor luck so far, but they have a car up the front, and if Shane Bowen can work his way back up throughout the course of the last 40 or so laps of this race, then it'll be a good points haul for Avatar once again.
So would you expect race 2 to play out differently to this one? Obviously, you've got the reverse of the top 10, so we're going to have to see Burns, Leslie, Hurley trying to pass.
Well, what I am noticing is passing is not something that's just thrown around like confetti, so to speak. You got to really plan your moves, and you got to try and build up to it over the course of a few laps. So I think in terms of the actual action that we see on track, I don't know if race 2 is going to be very different, but I think the players are certainly going to have a couple of surprises thrown in there. All depends on how the top 10 finish in this one. Currently in 10th place is Jake Fox. Luke Critchley moving up into 9th. So those positions, I know they won't stay the same, likely, towards the end, but Jake Fox could potentially start on pole for the feature.
Going to be an interesting fight for P10, isn't it? Because they know that they're going to have the pole for the feature without an inversion, so it will definitely be worth a lot to finish 10th rather than 11th. Lights out, the pace car coming back to the green this time by with 41 laps to go.
Yeah,
Can Leslie finally judge the start of Dwayne Burns?
Well, we will find out momentarily. Burns goes, and no. But have a look at Aston Hurley. He got a great run and is actually ahead of Leslie into the corner, but he's going to have to stick to the inside and give Leslie the room. Gets on the throttle just a little bit earlier, and he's protecting now from Leslie. Hurley then up into second. Can he keep it? Have a look at Will Leslie using that top lane. Gets on the throttle a little bit earlier and consolidates second once again. That just goes to show you how difficult it is to pass on the inside around here. So I think Aston Hurley's going to be stuck behind for some time to come. Daniel Stevens, on the other hand, fighting with Matthias Magnussen. And we see what Stevens is doing there on the outside. Gets on the throttle, powers out. A great exit from Stevens, and just takes the position from Magnussen. Slides up, does the number 5, but it's not going to work out. Magnussen's going to have to slot back in behind, and now comes under pressure from Michael Skurlock. Daniel Stevens at the moment looking like a bit of a cork in the bottle for 5th place on back, because Stadler, Hurley and Leslie have shown that they are pulling away when the stint really gets into its meat.
That move from Hurley on the restart was interesting. He actually had cleared him for a moment. I was in front of him. I think later on he might have really shut the door, but he allowed Leslie to drive back around the outside of him. He left him the room there. So that was a bit of leeway being given by Hurley there.
Yeah, playing the long game, I think, was Aston, because you can see that Will Leslie is right up on the back of Dwayne Burns once again, and trying what we saw earlier, later on the throttle, side by side across the start-finish stretch. Leslie goes all the way down to the apron, trying to carry as much speed into the corner as possible.
He's done it. He
and
moves
looks
up.
Like he has. Oh.
No, he hasn't shut the door on him. He's allowed Leslie. He's allowed Burns to get back to his outside. Now, through 3 and 4.
Oh, there we go.
Oh, he gets a hit. but he does it.
All right, so Will Leslie crosses the line in the lead of this race. Dwayne Burns then back to second, and just in time too, because the cautions come out for Pierre Cousin. Let's have a look at what caused that. Was this contact with another car? Pierre running the middle line. And down the front stretch doesn't look like much is going on, but the kinetic car up the top really pressuring him. Did Pierre just get on the throttle too early and get into the wall up the top? No, actually. Looks like some contact there. Now, which kinetic car was that? It was John King. And King a lap down on Cousin, so I don't think Pierre's going to look at that one very fondly. And it was just a case of King firing one up the inside, and Pierre was already turning in. I mean, you could see that that King really running the faster line and going for the move, but he wasn't quite alongside coming into the turn. Just a bit of rear quarter contact. And
it did. Hang on. It looked like Pierre actually came down then in that shot.
Yeah, it did. I mean, it's difficult to judge from multiple angles. We'll see from Pierre's perspective. Yeah, he comes down, but King, I don't think had many other places to go.
Yeah.
Probably could have done with holding off a little bit longer, but having said that, it is John's right to try and get his lap back and race properly for position. Blue flags mean something entirely different in oval racing.
Blue flags mean there's a faster car behind you. In road racing, it means get out of the way. In oval racing, it's just so you know.
Yeah, you know, he's there, but you don't have to worry too much.
Do with this information as you will.
Yes. Craig
But
Hawkins
there is a car behind you.
Yes. So you do need to be careful. So Craig Hawkins and John King then into the pits. Thanks to that damage. Daniel Stevens, I think Daniel Stevens definitely knows it's a caution. Not only does he have the light on the in-sim dash, but also on his real dash as well.
Well, he hasn't got his headphones on, so he hasn't got the spotter screaming, caution's out, caution's out. So he's got to make sure he doesn't miss it.
Got to have a visual reference, and Daniel's setup is one that I'm quite envious of. I mean, look at that, man. That is a great rig that he's got.
Sorry, are you talking about the cockpit or the arms?
The cockpit or those guns, those absolute guns at the steering wheel. The answer is yes. Oh, yay. So then,
We still got another whole race to go, Riz.
yeah, we have indeed.
By the way, 55-minute limit on the race. We're at 40 minutes now.
Yeah, okay. So this could potentially go time certain if the cautions keep coming out. Okay, so at the moment, our Director J says his timing is telling us that we will go to full distance. But if another couple of cautions come out, it's probably going to be a bit touch and go. We'll have to wait and see. Pace car comes in, field is back to double file, and now Will Leslie is going to control the start for the first time. We'll see how quick Dwayne Burns is on the mark here. Leslie back on the throttle, gets a great run. Once again, Aston Hurley with a good reaction, but didn't quite draw up alongside Burns down the straight. A little bit of fighting for position back behind them. Stadler securing his position from Stevens. And single file for the most part, going low on the exit. Oh, saw a bit of mad oversteer from Tyler Bish in the number 41. He's currently under a lot of pressure, stuck down on the bottom. There's not much room for him to get back up to the top here because there's a whole line of cars going a little bit faster. Jake Fox and Dean Mole. Oh, they're going to make it 3 wide on the exit of 4. Jake Fox has to pull out of it. Tyler Bish now defending from Dean Mole, but it looks like Dean is going to have the run on him. Jake Fox with a great view of all of this side by side with Stephen Williams. But it looks like Dean Mole has managed to clear all of these guys, and he'll be back up into the high reaches of the top 10. Oh no! Jake Fox into the wall. That's going to be another caution for sure.
Yep.
There we go.
Whoop! He almost got over the fence.
Oh dear. Oh, is he going to land on his wheels? Yes. So he can keep going. Beautiful. And the pace car pays him a visit as well. So Daniel Stevens now can have another little rest. He's managed to maintain P5 for the majority of this race, which is quite the good run. But he doesn't seem very happy in the car. Something's gone wrong for him. Maybe an on-track incident. The caution coming out potentially. He might be saying, "Look, why can't we just race? Stop crashing, guys."
Oh, Jay, I can't believe you turned the camera off.
Yeah, and Jay's saying he's glad he did, because Daniel Stevens making a couple of gestures. We're not sure why, but that's what happened to Jake Fox. Just got up into the wall. Oh, here we go. There might have been... Goodness me. Yeah, they were side by side there for P5. Stevens actually got the run on Stadler out of these turns, but I think just missed out on grabbing 4th because the caution came out when he was alongside.
It's unfortunate.
Yeah, here we go. And the caution will come out right then. Stevens was on the verge of being in 4th. That's a great shame.
Come on, Jay, you could have shown us the caution light at the same time. That would have really shown us when the caution came out.
Yeah, but then we probably wouldn't have seen Stadler.
No.
Oh. Yeah. What's that view? Goodness me.
Oh, what a
Jay's
surprise.
saying,
Jay's broken the cameras.
All right. Back to live pictures then. We're coming up on 20 laps to go in race 1 here at Lucas Oil Raceway. And Will Leslie maintaining the lead, and that initial stint for him in the lead didn't last very long until the caution came out. Drivers are going to be hoping that there's a couple less of those kinds of crashes so we can get this night done quickly.
Still 15 minutes left on the caution clock, so on the race clock, so we should be fine when it comes to getting the full distance in for race 1 here, and I guess for race 2 as well. Don't suppose race 2 will have more cautions than the first one. Drivers will sort themselves out by then.
Indeed. Well, we're certainly hoping.
You know, at this rate, the pace car might be closer to the lead lap than Cameron Dance.
Yeah, just about. It's definitely been crossing the line a lot in P1. The lights are off, so it is going to be 1 to green. And coming into the pits, Craig Hawkins once again for Mid-Atlantic Sim Sports International. Quite the dinged-up car that Craig Hawkins has. Looks like he just toured through the pits there for some reason. He might have had a penalty to serve. Had the lucky dog, so had to get to the back of the field. But either way, the field forming up once again, and Will Leslie is away. We are green once more. With Dwayne Burns getting a better run than Aston Hurley, protecting second, but Harold Stadler and Daniel Stevens for 4th place is going to be one heck of a battle. Stevens losing out to Michael Skurlock, who's managed to get on the outside line. And in the number 5, Matthias Magnussen starting to re-emerge as a contender. Stevens slots in ahead of Skurlock, protects the position for the time being, and now he can focus on chasing down Stadler. But Aston Hurley seems to really be pressuring Duane Burns for second. It's a great start there. It looks like Aston on the cooler tyres seems very quick, and on the throttle right away. The run for second place is on. Duane Burns just losing out in the mid-corner to Aston Hurley, but just protecting the outside once again. Hurley absolutely hurling it into the corner. And that pun was intentional.
And too deep into the side of Burns. They both check up. Caution comes out for a separate incident on the racetrack. Oh,
okay. So Pierre Cousin experiencing some difficulties, it seems. Upside down in the turn. I wonder if that was contact with another car. Let's find out.
I like the flair with which you say his name. Was it Cameron Dance that triggered this? Yes. I think he pushed that car up to the fence, and that caused Pierre to wobble in reaction to it. Look at it from the onboard with him.
Yeah, we'll have to see that, because from the outside, it looked like Pierre did that all by himself, but Cameron Dance, big slide from Cam, and...
Yeah, I reckon Pierre's reacted to that and lost it.
Yeah. Oh, that's a shame. And sees nothing but sky and then the ground. So... that means that that Pierre falls back into 23rd position. Bradley Matheson and Cameron Dance are the only two cars behind him in terms of the running order.
Remember tomorrow as well, if you're a fan of beating and banging and touring car action in the world's most famous mountain in motorsport, Bathurst 1000. Right here on the iRacing Esports Network as well. Part of the V8 Scops Championship, Australia's biggest esport sim racing league. And that will be a wild race.
Yeah, for sure it will. 161 laps around the Mount Panorama circuit, and that's going to be going live at 11 a.m. Australian Eastern Time tomorrow. We've had to make a couple of changes to the event format. We'd usually be having the qualifying day and the shootout at the moment, but certain issues have forced us to rejig the event a bit. So it's going to be an open qualifying session and then the race all on Sunday. Really looking forward to that, and we'll be able to crown V8 Scops Endurance Cup champions. But for now, we focus back on the international majors action because Leslie seems to have the measure of the field now. Duane Burns starting to fall off the wagon a bit. I think his tyres starting to cry for a bit of mercy. Leslie might have been a little better on his tyres, but we can't be sure. Either way, look out for Aston Hurley in the number 99 there behind Duane Burns, because he's been on point on the restarts, and he's been attacking quite particularly in those opening laps.
I think you're right. I think most of the cars out there, I think the tyres and all these cars will be begging their drivers for mercy. Just the way they're driving around this racetrack is not... I don't know what the word is.
Not ideal for lasting rubber, I suppose.
Yes. There's a word that starts with column. What is it? Conducive? That's it. Conducive.
Conducive. Yes. Yeah. Conducive is such a beautiful word. I use it at every opportunity I can. The field fans out into double file once again. Lights are off on the pace car. 1-2 green. We're going to start this with 11 laps to go. Car touring through the pits. I think that might be Pierre Cousin. But that's going to be much of a muchness for him. In comes the pace car then. Will Leslie's going to line up the start here. Duane Burns edging just a little bit in front of him. Leslie pushes him up to the top of the racetrack, and away they go. Let's see if Aston Hurley is on point. Doesn't look like it. Harold Stadler has managed to stick with them, but down in the middle. That means he's opened the door to Michael Skurlock to try and get...
Way,
oh, no!
big wreck!
Daniel Stevens! Daniel Stevens and Matthew Clote coming together
Give
on
us
the
his
exit
camera.
of turn 1. Oh, man.
There it
Oh,
is.
okay. That is an unhappy Daniel Stevens, and whew. I don't want to be in that room at the moment. Stevens immediately goes for the pits. We'll get a replay of that one. So Clote there in the green and black camouflage machine is going to come into play, with Stevens getting a slightly worse start than Skurlock. He was stuck all the way down on the inside, and through went Clote. They just came together. Stevens was just coming up the circuit at the moment that Clote came in. And it looks like Shane Bowen was involved in that as well. Another MFR car. I don't know if that's... I think that's Jonathan Bean there that was involved. So, once again, Jonathan Bean involved in a smash. And Daniel Stevens, after running very strongly in the top 5 and threatening for 4th, is now going to have a non-result almost in this race. But he has taken his fast repair. Opportune time to do it.
8 laps left. He's still shaking his head. I would be too.
Yeah, I would be as well. It's always frustrating when an incident like that happens. You're trying your best to get back online, and then another car that you weren't quite aware of getting a great run from behind you and just tagging your rear quarter, and both of you ending up in the wall. So hopefully for Daniel Stevens, he can have a better race too. But there's been no change up the top. Okay, and Daniel Stevens, we're hearing still quite an unhappy camper, threw a bit of a gesture on the Zoom camera. Jay reckons he was saying that he was number 1, and I think for the benefit of everyone, we're going to stick with that story.
If another yellow comes out, by the way, on this restart, it'll end the race. Because remember, as I said earlier, there's no green, white checkers.
Yes, indeed. And laps are counted under caution in this, so the clock is ticking for the drivers, and I think if you're Will Leslie, you're almost hoping for an extra caution to come out, because it's less time that you have to try and defend that lead. Dwayne Burns would be happy with that as well, because Aston Hurley has been certainly looking like a threat to that second place. On the bright side for Harold Stadler in 4th place, he doesn't have to worry about Daniel Stevens anymore, but Michael Skurlock up behind him in the number 21. Started outside the top 10, did Skurlock, and now into 5th place. And we've seen how strong he is around the outside. He's been very good at racing his way forward.
It's going to be a wild final restart. Can we do it green?
We'll see how that works out. It's going to be 5 laps to go as the drivers come across the line here, and we're going to be restarting with 5 laps to go. Very short stint to end this first race of the night. The field compresses through turns 3 and 4 as the pace car pulls in. Who's going to react to Will Leslie as he pulls away? Everyone left in the dust. Dwayne Burns, though, getting a better start than Aston Hurley. Protects 2nd. There's some movement further back in the pack. Dean Mole back up into 7th place. And oh my goodness, that's Michael Skurlock into the wall. Got to be careful, guys. Everyone's going to have to take avoiding action here. And that's another car off. Another car off. Daniel Stevens in the wall again.
Whoop, and around goes Skurlock, cautions out.
Matthias Magnussen was stopped, but just off the racetrack, so that would have been caution-free otherwise, but, man, that was quite the melee, and I think we got a couple of incidents to pick apart there. Either way, it looks like the race is going to finish under caution. It was 2 separate incidents we're hearing, so Magnussen in the number 5 kinetic machine, just behind Skurlock here, and the number 31 of Dean Mole as well. So that was contact between Skurlock and Stadler up ahead, and then the 2 kinetic cars came together. but that doesn't explain Daniel Stevens careering across the top of the frame. Skurlock then made contact with Johnny Bell. So what happened to Daniel Stevens? Because, I mean, he was running incredibly well, and in just the space of a few laps, his race has gone from hero to zero. So the incident happens ahead. Stevens actually backed off there. Oh no, the cars in front backed off, and it took Stevens by surprise, because everyone saw the incident happening in front of them, and then Stevens ran into the back of Johnny Bell. So it was Bradley Matheson as well involved in that, and got a disqualification from that incident, as did Pierre Cousin, because they exceeded the incident limit. Remember, it's only 16 incidents that you can have in this race. So we're getting a... Oh, yeah, okay. Jay said, look at Daniel Stevens' wheel, and it looks like it's upside down. So Ryan... Oh no! Oh no! What is this, like a DJ session there in the cockpit for the in-sim driver? Or is he doing the Macarena or something? I don't know.
I don't approve of this.
Yeah, this is making me feel quite uneasy. I don't want to look at this camera anymore. Thank you, Jay. Thank you. Okay. It's going to be the last lap for these guys. But Daniel Stevens, what a big shame for him. He's now 2 laps down on the rest of the field with a very damaged car, but fortunately it is only caution from here on in as we have the white flag. So Will Leslie is going to cross the line here behind the pace car to take the win in race 1. Good points haul for Will. That's half of the round points taken. But we're going to be looking at the lower reaches of the top 10, because it seems, as they cross the line, that Wayne Taylor is going to be in 10th, and that is going to grant him the pole position for the feature.
You'll be happy with that. Not a bad day out. Grabs the pole for the next race as we finish under the caution lights at Lucas Oil Raceway. End of race 100 laps, and we get set to go racing for race 2 in 5 minutes' time.
Indeed we do, and that's going to come across very shortly, but we're going to take a look at these results then. Leslie winning from Burns, Hurley completing the top 3, Stadler Hole held on for 4th, Luke Critchley making it into the top 5, Stephen Williams recovered to finish in 6th place after starting in 15th, Dean Mole recovering to 7th, Tyler Bish in 8th, Shane Bowen recovered to finish in the top 10. He's going to be starting 2nd in the 2nd race. Wayne Taylor rounds out the top 10, and that's going to grant him pole for the 2nd race. And then you got Dortonac finishing in 11th, ahead of Barber, ahead of Otto, ahead of Jake Fox. Matthew Clote comes home in 15th place. 16th, Johnny Bell, Jonathan Bean, Craig Hawkins, John King, and Michael Skurlock rounding out the 20. And it looks like these guys finishing outside the top 20, Daniel Stevens, Matthias Magnussen, Cameron Dance, Bradley Matheson, and Pierre Cousin, are not going to take to the grid for this. It's only going to be 20 cars in the 2nd race, so Daniel Stevens is going to be absolutely devastated from that. But we'll see what goes on in race 2. We've got 100 more laps to come here. We're going to take a very quick break here on the iRacing Esports Network. We're SimSpeed TV. You're watching the international division of the Majors Series, the Silver Crown at Lucas Oil.
is fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction. He's going in the outside of both of them. Maloney.
Oh, he's taking Anderson. Anderson's up to
Oh my God. Big crash. Oh my goodness. Half the field's going to get rolled.
Second very close. These guys are want to make their way through the field very quickly. That's massive! This is it! This is over! I can't believe this! Oh my god!
God, what?
And we are back here on the iRacing Esports Network with SimSpeed TV. This is the international division of the Majors Series, and there's a proper laugh session going on in the commentary booth for some unknowable reason. I'm Reese Gardner, Ryan Jones in the commentary box with me. We've had the first race of our 2 100-lappers here at Lucas Oil Raceway in the Silver Crown, and Will Leslie took honours in that initial opening stanza. Dwayne Burns finished in second, Aston Hurley in third, but now we move through into race 2. And I'm going to correct myself from before. I mistakenly assumed that some of the drivers were not advancing through to the feature. It turns out there was a bit of a technical issue, and we are in a new server for the second race. And that means the format has been changed up a little bit. Ryan, we've got a 5-minute qualifying session coming up to set the grid for race 2.
I am so disappointed by that. Because the last thing I wanted to see was the fast guys at the front again, because there was one overtake between them, because it's hard to pass. You put them back there in 9th and 10th, and they're going to have to overtake. We're going to see some things get changed up. But now, unless they ruin qualifying, which, to be honest, is quite difficult to ruin qualifying in the Silver Crown at Lucas Oil Raceway, you know, we're going to start the same order again. And hopefully...
Oh no, it's open qualifying. It's open qualifying. Everyone's on track at the same time, so we might actually get a mixed up grid here, Ryan.
Me might. Hey, you said you didn't know what the laughing session was for as we came back live. Well, one of us, not naming names, is very immature and decided that when Jay said 5 seconds till live, start swearing.
Yes. And anyone that knows, 3 of us knows who it was. It was Ryan.
Jay.
So, hey. Hey, look, I haven't been blamed for something yet. I'm looking forward to getting something pinned on me at Bathurst tomorrow.
I've got so many hours to line you up tomorrow.
That you have. I'm basically just taking a good old stroll on the Ryan Jones targeting range, but qualifying is continuing on. Will Leslie has gone to the top. Daniel Stevens running a time good enough for second in this open qualifying session, with Harold Stadler in third. I was looking forward to the top 10 invert. If you've just joined us, we were supposed to have an inverted top 10 for the second race, but of course that dream remains but a dream for now. So the time's still coming in then. It's a very active racetrack out there, and definitely a very abnormal kind of qualifying session for an oval race. Usually the drivers are out there on their own and they get 4 laps with which to set their time, but they have to deal with traffic in this, which means a couple of the guys haven't quite run the times that they'd want to. Dwayne Burns, at the moment...
oh no, he's only 2,000th of a second away instead of 1,000th.
Oh god.
Hey, Magnussen! Wow. There you go.
Hello. When I was forming that thought, Burns was back in 4th or 5th, but he's obviously changed that now. But Matthias Magnussen rocketing to the top there with a great time, 19.944. So
I just watched Dean Moll do a cartwheel over the pit wall, by the way.
Oh, okay. Might have to grab a little replay of that before the race gets going, but I got to say, I'm quite impressed by Magnussen. He's starting to turn his luck around after the incident towards the end of the first race that put him out of the running and a couple of laps down in a heavy crash. So he'll be hoping to finish at least on the lead lap that time around, and into the wall goes our championship leader and controller boy, Cam. That's Jake Fox.
I thought we were theorising the back of these cars with fuel tanks, not damn pogo sticks.
Yeah, goodness me. Did you see that? That was spectacular.
Boing, boing.
Oh, goodness me. Yeah, Jay's saying we should just leave the camera here. I was about to say that myself, because goodness me, we'd get some great shots from that.
You know who's very, very unhappy? Oh, sorry, very, very happy with the new qualifying format? A Race 1 winner.
Yeah, that he is, Will Leslie. He did have the fastest time until Magnussen pipped him, and Aston Hurley has pipped him as well. So Magnussen and Hurley is now your provisional front row with just a minute to go in the session. This is going to be interesting. Only 0.004 of a second for Aston Hurley, and we saw how hungry he was in the first race in the 99. He could certainly stand a chance of nabbing a win here.
38, 37 seconds left, 0.004 of a second between the top two. There is 18 hundredths between the top four. A tenth cover the top 8. It's remarkable.
That is quite remarkable, and it looks like out of the drivers that we're seeing, Cameron Dance actually running a lot better in this session. He's run a time good enough for 13th place, so that's going to be a marked improvement potentially from where he left off in race 1. But that is checkered flag. We'll see the last few times come across the board now. The drivers are going to be able to finish whatever lap they're on. Michael Skurlock going for a bit of a spin in the last couple turns, and someone gets into the wall.
Whoa.
Cameron Dance.
Nailed it.
Across the line. Barney salutes him with the checkered flag. And looks like that is the session completely done. So this is going to be your grid for the Rich Vogler Classic Race 2. Matthias Magnussen and Aston Hurley on the front row. And Will Leslie and Dwayne Burns on the second row. Race winner and second place from the last race. Harold Stadler and Dean Moll on row 3. Daniel Stevens starts from position 7, and he was in the running for a top 5 in the first race. He'll be hoping for some good luck to come his way. He starts alongside Burns' teammate Shane Bowen. Jake Fox and Tyler Bish round out the top 10.
Luke Critchley will go from 11th place with Wayne Taylor on his outside. Cameron Dance, 13th. Gavin Barber, 14th. Jonathan Benn and Stephen Williams, 15th and 16th. John King and Michael Skurlock on row 9. Phil Otto, Mirka Dortnack, Bradley Matheson, Johnny Bell, Craig Hawkins round out a 23-car field for race 2. We've lost 2 somewhere between here and there.
Yeah, we have indeed. I think a couple of drivers just thinking that it's probably not worth continuing. It was Pierre Cousin was one of the drivers that we're not seeing. And I get the feeling that Matthew Clote is the other driver that we're not seeing in race 2. Of course, Clote making contact with Daniel Stevens near the end of race 2, one of the incidents that brought out the final caution. So 2 cars less in this field, but we're sure to see the same kind of very cerebral oval racing moves up the front, and maybe further into the field, we're going to be seeing some hard racing, potentially causing some more cautions.
Hope not. Racing for sheep stations. Back there they were in race 1, getting set to roll off behind our iRacing.com Ford Mustang pace car, the old pace car, which is still active on the ovals.
Indeed it is. As I said before, it's nice to see the old girl getting a run again. Out she comes, leading the field away, and getting some news that that even in this session, there's been a couple of problems. It is being run to time, this race, 1 hour and 35 minutes. So there's no official lap count in the session.
But that's 40 minutes longer than race 1.
It is. So Cameron Dance proposing that they just throw a yellow at lap 100 and then screenshot the results. We're going to wait on confirmation of how we're going to determine the finish.
Hopefully not after an hour and a half.
Yes, indeed. Because,
How many cautions we could get in that period?
oh my goodness, yes. Goodness me. We'd be here for a very long time. Jay pointing out that that if they run under the caution the entire time, they might just reach 100 laps. Well, that'd be one way to make sure that we get the distance, but hey, it is what it is. We've got to work with what we have. In comes the pace car, and we are green for the second race here. It's a great start from both Magnussen and Leslie. Aston Hurley unfortunately caught sleeping on the start. He's fallen back into third place, now under pressure from Dwayne Burns and Dean Mole. Meanwhile, further back in the field, Daniel Stevens and Shane Bowen side by side coming into the corner. They're facing pressure from Bish and from Fox as well. A little bit of a slide from Jake Fox, and side by side once again, Shane Bowen and Daniel Stevens, but Bowen on the outside, as we've seen, the optimal line. Jake Fox has managed to find the wall. Meanwhile, he's lost a lot of pace and ended up backing up Michael Skurlock, who is now in car 6 instead of 21 for some reason. Fox in the wall again, and that's made contact with Skurlock. It's concertinaed back, and that's made John King and Phil Otto crash. Yes, that is what they did. So the caution is out already. We barely even completed 2 laps of racing.
Confirmation the race will end after 100 laps as well.
All right.
But the other thing is that if we get more cautions in race 1, it won't be stopped by the 55-minute limit.
No, it will not. So if an awful lot of cautions come out in this one, then we may just be here for a while. Well, that's a replay of the incident.
We only had one decent green flag run. That was at the start of the last race. From there on in, ever since that first caution came out, they just kept coming.
Yeah, it was little bursts of, 6, maybe 7 laps, and then another caution comes out and resets it all again. That lap counter, I got to say, Ryan, if the race was that many laps long, I'd probably just walk. I'd probably just walk right there and then. What was that? Like 21 million laps? How many fuel tanks do you think that takes?
Oh, yeah, just the one.
Probably one.
Just the one with the size of these damn tanks.
2 billion laps. Yeah. Just Jay's saying, just leave it on the timer. Just leave it on the timer. We'll keep you updated on what lap the leaders are on.
Jay was a good director. He could put up a graphic that just showed the current lap. Jay just threw 1,000 excuses in our ears, and to be honest, none of them sounded any decent.
Let's see what Jay can do.
Peer pressure.
Peer pressure. It's always fun updating the overlays while we're live. That's something that I've had a lot of experience with over the years.
Yeah, some say Reese has done a bit of video work.
Yeah, I've done a bit of video work, a little bit of commentary. It's only been, 7 years since I started doing this at SimSpeed TV. Not that long.
I think I was still in primary school back then, Reese.
Well, son, welcome to the family.
I don't think so. I think I'd made it out of there by then. When is that? 2013? Wow.
Yeah. SimSpeed started in 2011 as V8's online, and I came on in 2013. Of course, I was absolutely awful.
Downhill,
and I'm still awful.
Coming back to the green.
Yay.
Attempt number 2 at race 2 at Luxor Raceway. Matthias Magnussen, all kinetic front row with Will Leslie on his outside. There we go. Good job from the 2 kinetic cars, which is no surprise. They're probably working together there.
Yes, indeed. And Magnussen coming away with the gap in the lead just to start things off. Aston Hurley now under pressure from Dwayne Burns once again. Didn't quite get the run that he wanted on Leslie, so it's going to be a fight here for the top 3. If Burns can get a double podium here, it'll certainly be a great night for him. He is good at oval racing and has experience in the Silver Crown in the majors, where we raced at Phoenix a couple of seasons back. Dean Mole, meanwhile, is doing very well as well, just behind these guys. You see him in the Kinetic car there, in 5th place. Mole recovering to 7th after being put out of the running early on in the last race. So he's looking quite good here, and it looks like Aston Hurley starting to back these guys up, because Leslie and Magnussen starting to pull out a little bit of a gap here.
Further back, Cameron Dance is riding the apron down low. Stephen Williams on his outside. He was looking at Tyler Bish, but that didn't work out. Now he's going to move up in front of Mirko Dortanack.
Indeed he is, and Dortanack backed up a little bit, which allows Jonathan Bain to try and get up the inside. But once again, oh no! Cameron Dance got on the wall there. My goodness, and that is the caution out. What on earth happened there?
Run out of talent.
Just he just went straight into the wall, coming down the start-finish stretch.
Controller, so he can't finesse his line. It's either left or right, no in between. So if he was slightly angled towards that fence, he, well...
Yeah, but have a look down. Yeah, just a little bit of an angle towards the front stretch. If you have just joined us, a little bit of context. Cameron Dance usually races with a wheel, but he's in a motel at the moment, having to use a controller, and as you can see, it's not working out well for him.
Shouldn't have given them context. You should have just let them assume that Cameron Dance is a terrible driver.
Oh, well, if people are following along with the Majors series, then they would know that Cameron Dance is the championship leader, and what on earth is he doing at the entry to pits? Let's have a look from the onboard. Looks like there's some quite a bit of wayward behavior from the car, but have a look at this pit entry. I just saw it on my end. Dance gets on the brakes and then just catches the grass and then...
You know, he was doing celebratory donuts in the Skip Barber Motorsports Park a couple of weeks ago when he won his championship there. He almost rolled the car doing donuts there as well.
Well,
so he has a thing for skipping. Yeah. Now, I think it would be great if we just didn't acknowledge this, but I feel like we have to. Jay did fix the overlays, and we have lap 14 now.
Hooray!
Lap 15. Should have made him do all that work and just not acknowledged it.
or just keep acting like the other lap counter is still there. I can still see 2 billion laps. What's going on, Jay?
That's tomorrow. That's about first 1,000.
Yep.
So lap 15, caution's out for the second time. 10 minutes into this race of 1.5 hour allocation. It's going to be about the same length as race 1. It'll be about an hour long. But at some point, surely these drivers have got to... It's got to click for these drivers how to not wreck.
Yes, well, I think if Cameron Dance can just stay right in the middle of the track... or off the road for the rest of the race, then we'll probably stand a chance of a few less cautions, but we'll see. We'll see. Lights are still not off on the pace car. We got an extra lap here under caution. But the Kinetic 1-2 has worked out very well so far. Magnussen just coming out of nowhere with that fast time in qualifying. And Will Leslie sticking with him. So, much like many other races in this series, Kinetic have it down pat. But Aston Hurley could try and spoil the party there in the yellow, red and white MFR machine in third. Can't count out Dwayne Burns either in the 19 Avatar machine. And his teammate Shane Bowen, a little bit further down in the top 10, currently in 7th, but that's a good position for both Avatar cars to be in. Remember, Bowen almost retiring from the first race thanks to a smash The lights are out on the pace car and everyone's forming up. We're going to go racing very soon. So in comes the Mustang. Magnussen controls the field once more. Can Aston Hurley time it well? Away both kinetic cars go, and that's a very even start for the front row. They definitely coordinated that start. But Hurley now versus Burns. DUANE in the number 19 trying round the outside. Dean Mole is going to really get in on this as it's side by side for the lead. Can Will Leslie take it from Matthias Magnussen? Gets on the throttle. Hurley versus Burns, meanwhile. There goes Leslie into the lead.
Burns trying to go around the outside just like Leslie did. Struggling to do it. And Dean Mole was waiting for an opportunity to get involved as well. But probably was counted down to the restart there, Will Leslie. And Magnussen might be regretting that decision, because it's cost him the lead of the race. As finally Burns should clear Hurley off of this corner. And he does.
Yeah, only just though. Hurley's been really good on throttle application out of the corners, so the fact that he was able to stay with Burns as long as he did is quite impressive. But now Dean Mole is going to slot into that free spot up at the top and see if he can get by for 4th place. Daniel Stevens moving around a bit in Harold Stadler's mirrors as well, just behind those guys. Hurley, meanwhile, he ultimately yields to Dean Mole, starting to lose a bit of ground off this start.
Yeah, he had to do that. If he continued to fight with Dean Mole, it would have allowed Stadler to his outside as soon as Mole cleared him. So by lifting off, he's stemmed the flow. And now he can look to recover his momentum and figure out how to attack Mole, which he's immediately trying to do now. But the inside, probably not the way to go there, Aston.
Yeah, it does give you a bit of a straighter exit, but you are turning a bit more at the point that you hit the throttle, so ultimately it translates to an exit that is not optimal. But you can see he does get a little advantage on throttle application still. So if Dean Mole can protect the outside, then he'll probably be able to keep the position, but I wouldn't put it past Aston to really throw it up the inside. Almost does, and Skurlock off the track. No caution for the time being, because he is down on the grass off the racing surface. Hopefully he can get going again without bringing the caution out.
That's going to trap him a lap down, maybe more.
Yeah,
did he tow back to pit lane? Or did he back it up and get going again?
I am going to check that now. Looks like he did tow. Yeah, he's escaped off the track, has Michael Skurlock, so we'll see him again in a couple of minutes, but he's going to lose a few more laps thanks to that. So now, Dean Mole starting to gap Aston Hurley here, and Harold Stadler, who we ride on board with, starting to advance. And reminder that Stadler, for the second time in 2 races, getting harassed by Daniel Stevens. And Stevens would have taken 4th place from Stadler if a caution had not come out at just the wrong time. Have a look at Stevens, absolutely piling it into the turns, trying to keep up the minimum speed that he takes through the turns. And once again, what a rig and what a rig. Daniel Stevens really working hard over those bumps, down to the inside and then bringing it up to the top of the circuit, back to the inside just a little again for the exit.
Red light flashing in his room?
Yeah, good question. I wonder if that's rev lights or something to that effect. Oh, caution's out. There's been an incident up at the back. Cameron Dance.
All the police are outside for calls of a domestic abuse because of the amount of shouting he was doing over the radio.
Goodness me. Well, let's see what happened.
Who was that?
Cameron Dance.
Cameron. Again.
Yep. Yes, indeed. Still take a look at Daniel Stevens under the caution. A little bit of an opportunity to rest, but Cam tips it into the corner. Around the outside of Jonathan Bain, but then just gets into the wall once again. With a controller, you can't make those little adjustments away from the wall until it's too late. And it looks like Michael Skurlock is our second retirement from this race. He is disconnected from the server as drivers come back into the pits under caution. Lucky Dog, if there is Lucky Dog enabled, should be Mirko Dortonak. He is the leader of the cars a lap down. Jake Fox, the only other car laps down that is still in the server, currently sitting on his lonesome in the pits. I wonder if he thinks his day is done. John King comes in for service as well, grabs some new tyres.
Skurlock's day is done.
It is indeed, absolutely.
Dortonak, 4 laps down at the moment. As Lucky Dog gets back onto the leader lap. Or rather, that's Dortonak going to 3 laps down instead of 4.
Yeah, it's going to be difficult to try and regain that, but if Dortonak can stay in that lead position of the cars off the lead lap, then it'll only take 2 cautions for him to get back onto the lead lap again. And knowing the form of the field, I reckon there is going to be a couple more cautions before the checkered flag falls here.
Yep, going to be interesting to see how this plays out. But I don't know. Stop wrecking. We want to see some racing. How many cautions have we had at this point across 130 laps?
Oh, God! I stopped counting after about the 4th one in race 1. So this is the 3rd caution in this race, and what, we had something like 6 cautions or something like that in the first race. So I think we're about to crack the 10 mark if we haven't already. Just quietly, we've probably had more than 10 cautions, but once again, I'm training my eyes on different numbers than the number of cautions. 1 to green, though. Lights off on the pace car. And we'll probably get another coordinated start from the Kinetic boys up front.
Well, you'd hope. If you're Magnussen, you're saying, hey, count down the start, Will. I'll just take a lead back away from you like you did to me.
Yeah. Well, we'll see what happens as the pace car pulls off the circuit and into pit lane. Dwayne Burns and Dean Mole then up onto the 2nd row. It's been a good run for them. Aston Hurley has fallen back. Can he preserve a top 5 from Harold Stadler, Daniel Stevens, and Shane Bowen? And it looks like that was not a coordinated start at all. Will Leslie gapping at the rest of the field instantly, and Matthias Magnussen having to defend from Burns into turn 1, but Burns stuck on the inside as Magnussen late apexes. That's going to give an opportunity to Dean Mole to take 3rd. Look at that. He has played that perfectly. Burns still stuck on the inside, and I reckon Mole's going to get this. It's a Kinetic 1-2-3 now.
Good job from Dean Mole to get around his outside. And look down on the bottom, Aston Hurley trying to make something work in the MF Racing sports car.
Yeah, Dwayne Burns is going to have to move back up to the top pretty soon, try and maintain that speed, because Hurley now back in a place he knows very well, down on the inside, where he can't quite get the exit that he wants to consolidate the position. He's trying to go late on the brakes into the turns, but it's not working out for him, and Burns slots back in ahead of him.
Magnussen did the fastest lap of the race in that last lap as well, so he's not letting Leslie get away. In fact, they're condensing the top 5 at the moment. Luke Critchley's bouncing back from an unscheduled earlier stop to put fuel in the car after he started the race with no fuel. He's back up where he started now.
Indeed he is, and dicing with Stephen Williams, Tyler Bish, Gavin Barber, and just up ahead of them, Wayne Taylor, who occupies 9th position.
I think it would have been easier to say battling with MF Racing.
Well, yeah, I guess so. Probably easier. But sometimes you just got to go into the details. Hurley in the MF Racing car, not leaving Burns alone and giving an opportunity for Harold Stadler to get in on this fight. Looks like Dean Moll has managed to vault himself a bit further ahead of Dwayne Burns here, because he's got his hands full with Aston Hurley, and now he's actually caught up to his Kinetic teammates. And Will Leslie and Matthias Magnussen are running some interesting lines. They're going all the way to the bottom on the exit. Interesting to see.
So 3/10 between our leaders. And back to Dean Moll, third. 6/10 back.
Oh, caution. There we go. Here we go again. And it's Johnny Bell who has brought that one out, down in 18th position. Cameron Dance cannot blame Mr. Dance for this one, because he just come out of the pits. So let's have a look at what happened to Johnny Bell then.
So what you're saying is, as soon as Dance came back on the racetrack, a caution came out.
He was in the pits when it happened. Or maybe he wasn't, because we're getting fed a lot of conflicting information at once, it seems. But Johnny Bell... Oh, there we go. Oh, that's a big shame.
That was John King in front of him. Now, did King slow up? And Dance, what the earth are you doing?
Well, did he... Dance was involved in an incident, but he didn't bring out the caution. This is what happened. This is what happened. Over the pit wall. Maybe that's what did bring out the caution.
So there were two incidents on the front straight at the same time.
Okay, I'm going to take a look at the other drivers involved in that one, because...
Start off the exit for that 22.
Yeah,
in fact, I reckon Bradley Matheson had... No, okay, he got DQ'd. I thought he was having an internet issue, that's why he was slow, because he disappeared afterwards. But that's because he got disqualified that he disappeared. Cameron Dance is surely only one incident away from disqualification as well.
Yeah, reminder that the incident limit is 16 in this race. So Bradley Matheson's obviously exceeded that. Now we're back under caution. The pits have come alive once more. Plenty of cars coming in for a tour, but Jake Fox and Mirko Dortonak remain at a standstill in the pits. So Johnny Bell comes back out.
So coming up on the major schedule, the Classic USGP in 2 weeks' time at Watkins Glen, the Classic layout in the Lotus 49. Then 3 weeks on from that, the Bathurst 500. 81 laps around Mount Panorama in the supercars. Finishing off the season 2 weeks later at Auto Club for the California 500 in the Dallara IR18s. That be a wild 250 laps.
Yeah, that certainly will. We've got a great varied schedule over this season, and quite the variation in the last 3 rounds. The Lotus 49 is what we're going to be driving in the Classic USGP.
We drove the GTEs to start the season off, then the Cup cars, then the Yarka Menards cars, then the TCR, back to the Cup cars, the Coke of the Charlotte 600, Indy 500, obviously in the Indy cars, GTE again for Le Mans, IndyCar for Road America, the Williams last race, Silver Crown today, and yeah, your Lotus 49 Supercars and IndyCar again.
Certainly run the gauntlet in terms of that.
What would be your ideal event that isn't on the calendar to replicate and put it on next season?
Oh God, putting me on the spot there. I certainly have enjoyed quite a lot of the events that have gone on this season. I think I'll hold that thought for now and give you an answer if there is another caution, because we are about to go green, and Will Leslie's going to control the field once more. See if he goes early, and he does, and Dean Mole right on it as well. Magnussen unfortunately caught sleeping, so now Mole up into second, and Aston Hurley trying to shove his way up into the top 3 positions. Look at him go with a great exit, as does Dwayne Burns. And Magnussen, little tap there from Dwayne Burns, but he holds it. My goodness. That was incredibly difficult to pull off, I reckon. And now Burns is going to have to slot back in behind, and this is giving Harold Stadler a chance to advance forward a position. But this is interesting, because Will Leslie, with the mother of all leads now, Mole in second, Hurley third, Magnussen fourth, and we've got drivers creeping up on the back of this top 4, top 5 battle. Stadler, Stevens, Stephen Williams as well, all fighting for this particular piece of racetrack. Shane Bowen and Wayne Taylor side by side as well. Avatar Auto Racing and Middle Finger Racing. Bowen holding the inside very well, it seems, but Taylor just getting a little advantage on the exit. Bowen's going to have to slot back in here.
That was a really good restart for Mole. Bad for Magnussen. Obviously, the contact from behind cost him the spot to Hurley, but he won't be happy with how this race has played out ever since losing the lead to his teammate and what we suspect was a coordinated restart.
Yes,
now,
indeed.
Aston Hurley looking to get by Dean Mole as well. He's had a lot of practice at that low line tonight.
Yeah, he seems right at home too with the early entry into the turns. A little mistake from Mole there, coming out of turn 4. Lost a tiny bit of momentum, but just holding off again. Right on board with Stephen Williams, and he's got a great view of everything that's going on up ahead. There goes Hurley up the inside of Mole once more. And Magnussen looking to try and follow him on that inside line. But Mole playing the outside line very well at the moment. He's keeping it nice and smooth. Will Leslie, on the other hand, has nothing to worry about. He's completely alone on the circuit as Mr. Hurley almost gives Mr. Mole a little bit of a checkup. And Mole getting very close to the wall. This is just opening up more opportunities for Hurley to try and get by. But Dean's relying on the throttle application, the traction out of the corner. That's where he is able to defend this position. And if he can back up Hurley, it'll probably help out his teammate Magnussen as well. It's all about trying to open up an opportunity. If Kinetic can still come away with a podium lockout, it'd be a very good end to the night for them.
Hurley's got to be careful here, because if he shapes for a move and gets it wrong, he's going to get jumped by Matthias Magnussen. Magnussen's now hunting for right by him. So Hurley, after looking like he might be able to make a move on, starting to come under pressure, and he had to really throw it into the corner there.
Yeah, and you see Magnussen there trying to search for a little gap on the inside. He turns in extremely early. Applies the throttle, get a little bit of extra rotation. You see how close the cars are to snapping. There's almost a bit of contact between Mole and Hurley. Not getting out of each other's hair.
Yeah, Hurley's really sending it in on the brakes. Or he was up until he almost hit him there, and he's actually backed off on the next braking zone, turn 3. But yeah, turn 1 again. Throws it in.
Yeah, he loves that inside line, doesn't he? Back up to the top once more.
From this angle, those cars remind me of like a humpback.
That's a very odd analogy.
Just the way, the back of the car, the humpback of Notre Dame, maybe. That's what it reminds me of for some reason.
Oh, you mean hunchback? Oh,
Hunchback.
When you said humpback, I thought you would. I'm like, these cars don't look like whales. What are you talking about?
Oh my.
Goodness me.
Yeah, hunchback. Yeah. Oh god.
Oh, have a look here, Mole. A little bit extra pace into the corner. He ran a bit too wide there and allowed Hurley to get right up alongside him. Thing is, when you get on the throttle, at the end of the day, Mole is the one with the better speed at that point. So Hurley really doesn't have a chance here unless he can force Mole down to the inside somehow.
Or if Mole makes a mistake. Which you've seen
That
plenty
too.
of today. It's our longest green flag run of the race so far. Hurley got caught up on the exit there. Cameron Dance is going another lap down on the apron. He's missing his front bumper, which is a sizable part of the car to miss, actually.
Yes, it is, and obviously not taking its fast repair just yet. Dean Mole, though, continues the charge. Have a look at Hurley. Just vaults it into the corner. And right now, it looks like Mole is really backing these guys up. Seems like if Hurley was in clear air, he would definitely be one of the fastest cars, but at the moment, this is just helping out Will Leslie in the lead. He continues to increase that gap, 1.5 seconds to Mole at the line.
So, Dean Mole 20.359, 20.1 for Leslie. And obviously 20.4, 20.3 for Hurley and Magnussen because they're stuck behind Mole. Again, lap times. On that lap, Mole was able to match Leslie. He's about to catch Craig Hawkins as well. Put him a lap down.
Yeah, Hawkins just on the start-finish straight now, and Mr. Leslie going through on that faster outside line to get it done. Beautiful. But have a look at Aston Hurley getting up alongside Mole once again into the corner, but Magnussen sees an opportunity. Hurley covers him.
Every time Magnussen gets that run, Hurley moves across the cover and throws it in just a little bit deeper than normal.
Yeah, seems like he has the rubber to do that at this stage. Leaders coming up to lap 70. We're almost at 30 laps to go.
See how quickly it goes when we go green?
Yes. Beautiful. Oh, a tiny bit of contact between Mole and Hurley once again as side by side. It's Shane Bowen and Wayne Taylor for 10th and 9th place. Bowen and Taylor were getting pretty close together initially off the first couple of starts, but have a look at how hard Mr. Bowen goes into the corners. Definitely delayed the brake application there to try and stay alongside Taylor, but it's not working out for him. Has to keep trying to force himself in there, but you can tell that the car just has no grip at all. Oh, so close between the two of them on the exit, and they continue to run side by side. But this is not going to be doing Bowen any favors. Oh, tiny bit of contact once again as they come up to Craig Hawkins.
Up front. Here we go.
Oh,
Hurley throws it in. Oh, but he just couldn't quite clear. Dean Mole, who gave it a big boot of throttle mid-corner to stop Hurley from sliding up in front of him. Look at the front right brake pad on Hurley's car.
Yeah, that's crazy. He is really using the brakes here, and oh no, he's opened up an opportunity for Magnussen, who tries sneaking up the inside. No, it will not. Absolutely not.
Only way you can make the inside work is if you go down there with a run.
Yeah, exactly. You need to really set it up out of the preceding corner beforehand. But second, third, and fourth all together on screen here, all sharing the same bit of racetrack. This is the kind of close racing that I enjoy watching in the Silver Crown races. Magnussen,
you watch Silver Crown races frequently, do you?
Not that frequently, based on the one Silver Crown event that I've watched before at Phoenix, also in the Majors series. This is pretty far par for the course, which actually went green all the way, didn't it? I reckon it did. I think it did. Jay, confirm. Yes, it did. Practice was full of wrecking. Qualifying was full of wrecking. Then we had 3 50-lap races around Phoenix, all of which went green the whole way through, which is a bit of a difference from what we've seen here. And Harold Stadler trying his best to get up on the inside of Dwayne Burns there, but Burns still holds on to 4th place. Meanwhile, his teammate Shane Bowen putting one up on Wayne Taylor, potentially. He's got the run on the inside. Oh, but they make contact on the exit. Taylor's going to try and chuck this one in. Can he hold it round the outside? Bowen's back on the throttle, and they're side by side again. Oh, Bowen almost had Taylor. You can tell he's really trying his best to make the inside work. Seeing a potential move as well between Stadler and Burns. Stadler trying to find a way up the inside, and bit of contact.
Oh, no!
Oh, Burns holds it. Daniel Stevens has to take avoiding action there. But Harold Stadler, with a little bit of a bump and run, through into 5th place. And now Dwayne Burns is going to have to deal with Daniel Stevens. We take a look from inside his man cave once again. He's got a very good view of the back of the Avatar number 19. Seems like Burns, despite his fantastic run in race 1, he's been a bit off, I think, in this second race. Hasn't quite been able to maintain the positions that we know he can.
No, he's struggled a bit, hasn't he? Well, Leslie hasn't. Aston Hurley hasn't. Well, maybe he has, just to pass Dean Mole. Magnussen's got a good run now, but I reckon he had to check up on the exit of 2. And that immediately kills his momentum. Only 17 to go.
Yeah, the race is really flying by now, isn't it? As we start lap 84 for these guys.
2.7 second advantage for your race leader over this 3-way scrap for 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. And they've got 3 seconds in hand to 5th, 6th, and 7th, and 8th.
Seeing Cameron Dance come into the pits once again with some very heavy damage on his machine. That championship lead is...
Oh, Dean Mole's been held up.
Good. Oh, he has.
Up.
Yeah, that was Johnny Bell in the midst of all of that. But it looks like Mole has managed to maintain the position versus Hurley and Magnussen, for now at least. The opportunity did reveal itself, but Hurley could not take advantage. And you see a little bit of a slide down there on the inside. Hurley's tyres starting to come off their optimum pace as King brings it into the pits. There goes Hurley again, up the inside. Magnussen throws it in as well, but once again, Dean Mole on the outside, the optimum line. And really, Hurley, I think, is more defending from Magnussen at this point.
I'd have used the bumper by now.
Of course you would have, Jay says. But I think Aston is trying to make this as clean as he possibly can, because tell you what, it's a great game of what if coming into every corner here at Lucas Oil. Oh, another compromised exit from Aston Hurley as they come up to and pass Craig Hawkins there on the inside. Mole is back online though.
Pure frustration alone would be enough to use that bumper, I would have thought, if you're Hurley or Magnussen. 90 laps they've pretty much spent not leading this race. In the last 40 or 50, green, unable to pass Mole.
Yeah, it's been quite a tough job for Aston Hurley out there. And it looks like Shane Bowen clearing Wayne Taylor again as Hurley goes for another move up the inside, but Mole sees it and is wise to it, well prepared, and keeps the position. But it's getting very close between Hurley and Magnussen now. Magnussen tries the late apex. Get the run down the straight. Hasn't worked out for him this time. But there's still a chance here for a kinetic 1-2-3 if Aston Hurley falls off the wagon.
3 laps go. Bit of a lap anomaly for Will Leslie. Half a second off the pace. He dropped half a second of the guys behind, but he's recovered. And his lead still sits at just north of 3 seconds, so he's still looking comfortable out front with 7 to go.
Meanwhile, dealing with traffic is Stephen Williams and Daniel Stevens as the caution comes out. And Ryan, that little sound you made tells me exactly how you feel about cautions. Jonathan Ben is the one. It looks like maybe we're going to have a 2, maybe even 1 lap shootout now to finish off the night.
It was actually more of a chuckle at the prospect of us getting a caution with this little laps left, because Leslie will be sorely disappointed with this. What happened to Jonathan Bain? Well, there's Luke Critchley. Up.
Going for a bit of a spin and
up
onto the grass. Oh no, oh no, oh no, oh. Oh. Oh man. That's a shame. That's a shame, man. Poor Jonathan Ben. Didn't really do anything wrong, just trying to take avoiding action, but that spin on track was what ended up bringing out the caution.
So if you're Will Leslie now, how do you make sure you get the good jump?
By just sending it. Just sending it on the restart. Go as soon as the pace car comes in.
The good news is they've been battling for traction off the corner all race, so you're not going to get too surprised by a lack of traction as you put the power down, because you roughly know what to expect. It'd be a different story if they're running at a high-speed track where they put the power down after a 90-lap race and realise they've got no grip. So he at least knows sort of what to expect from the tyres when he jumps on the throttle pedal.
Is it correct?
I have absolutely no thought that he is going to count down Mole to this restart.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen either. I reckon the Kinetic 1-2 is pretty safe at this stage.
Well, we've seen second place.
Aston Hurley starts.
Yes, but I think second place, they've struggled to go all race. Apart from that time, Leslie took the lead of the race. So, third place is just better. You can see the car in front of you. I feel like you can see when they go a bit easier, purely based off when the back of the car squats down. Is a little bit earlier than when the car actually lurches forward, which is what the car on the outside looks for.
Yes, indeed. So there's a couple of ways that this restart could go.
Badly or well.
Yes. That sums it up quite nicely. And now director cacks himself in the background. It's par for the course when we commentate together, Ryan. It's always it always ends up being something that makes Jay lose.
I feel
everything.
sorry for Lachlan tomorrow.
Yeah.
Lockie's commentating with Dumber and Dumber tomorrow.
Yeah, poor Lachlan Mansell. He's going to be on pit reporter duties for the V8 Scops Bathurst 1000 tomorrow. Remember, 11 a.m. Australian Eastern Time here on the iRacing Esports Network. That's when we are kicking things off. Pace car comes in. Perfect time to watch in the US. And have a look at Dean Moore. A little bit of contact between the leaders.
2-lap dash.
Just came down on Will Leslie. 2-lap dash indeed. Let's see when they go. Is it going to be a coordinated start?
No.
Tiny bit, maybe. It looks like Mole has cleared Hurley at the very least, and he's got the outside, so that is going to be the Kinetic 1-2 almost secured. But hopefully we don't get any crashes in these last couple of laps. It's going to be white flag when they come out of turn 4, this time by. Aston Hurley still tries to get up alongside Dean Mole. But once again, round the outside is the way to go here at Lucas Oil Speedway. Will Leslie then, coming out of turn 2, into turn 3 and out of turn 4 for the final time. It's going to be 2 from 2 for Will Leslie, and it's going to be a 1-2 for the Kinetic Racing team, with Dean Mole finishing in second and Aston Hurley with a fine third place, beating out our pole sitter Matthias Magnussen. Dwayne Burns finishes in position 5, with Harold Sadler completing the top 6. Daniel Stevens, Shane Bowen, Stephen Williams, and Wayne Taylor round out the top 10. And there we go. It is all done. The drivers do not need to race cleanly anymore. They can just smash it into the wall and have a bit of fun to end the night. But my goodness.
And they better hope that someone actually screenshotted that result before the next lap ticked over.
Yeah, they better hope so, because now the timing screen is all out of whack. And unfortunately, we won't be able to bring you the full race results for that exact reason. But your top 3 was Leslie, Moll, and Hurley. Will Leslie with a great points haul and confirmed the round winner with 2 from 2. And that is going to help his championship fight versus Cameron Dance, who had an absolutely shocking night.
Yep. Love when the pace car intervenes with your post-race donuts.
Yeah. Hey, would you mind giving me some room? I'm celebrating here. But Will Leslie, a very happy camper there. He's great on the ovals. Certainly made a great case for himself this season in the Majors Series. So that's going to bring to an end proceedings for tonight. Once again, Ryan, as our race winner overtakes the pace car once again. So we've got V8 Scops tomorrow, but next round of the Majors is going to be the Lotus 49 at Watkins Glen Classic. I'm super looking forward to that one. Sort of reimagining the 1960s United States Grand Prix. It'll be a great place to go, but I reckon tonight has certainly been an excellent one. And actually, we're going to postpone wrapping this broadcast because our race winner, Will Leslie, joins us in the commentary box. G'day, Will. Congratulations. 2 from 2 tonight. Must be an excellent result for you, especially considering that our championship leader did not have a great night.
Yeah, Reece, it was a terrific little race. I really thought that this race would be all about car control and, staying out of trouble and, getting to the front and, as I said, staying out of trouble. So worked really hard on the setup, worked really hard on race pace and qualifying pace, as you saw. So, we got to the front and stayed there. And, yeah, unfortunate for Cam. I know he had some issues there, so that he was sort of fighting around. So it'd be, good gain for us, but not the way I sort of want to do it.
Yeah, of course. Just take us through the restarts, because you and Matthias Magnussen looked like quite a coordinated restart on one of the after I think the first caution or somewhere around there. But your other restarts, you got a great advantage on the rest of the field. Can you tell us why?
Look, obviously, Matthias is one of my teammates, so we're all in Discord and having a chat. I sort of wanted us to try and clear the field before we made any overtaking maneuvers, and I obviously got a few good jumps there and made up a few good positions, and I tried to repay the favour for teammates and help them out on the restarts, and I think it worked. I think we got first, second, and fourth or something. So yeah, that was good.
Yeah, great team result for Kinetic, which is certainly going to assist the dominant championship lead that team already enjoys.
Yeah, unfortunately, I'm part of the casuals team, so my points don't count, but obviously it counts for the championship for Dean and Matthias. So that was a really good run by them. It was unlucky with Jake and John.
Yeah, certainly was, but still a great night for you, Will. Before we let you go, any shout-outs, any sponsors? Who gets it done for you?
Mum and Dad, they've got a mean dinner waiting for me here. It's 8:20 at night, so I'm starting to get a little bit peckish. And the whole Kinetic team. I mean, I had a whole bunch of help with this setup from Christian Challoner, and we worked really hard on it throughout the week. So shout out to those guys, and hopefully they have a good race coming up tomorrow and the day after as well.
Will Leslie, 2 from 2, round winner here at Lucas Oil Raceway. Second place was Dean Mole in the Kinetic car. And man, Dean, That was quite the night for you. Race 1 didn't go entirely your way first off, but you managed to recover to 7th and back that up with a podium in race 2.
Yeah, absolutely. Race 1, I felt bad because it was just tight entry into 1, got hung up on the wall, and then dropped back, and then I actually bounced off the wall in the backstretch and ended up John King got involved in the carnage, so I apologize to him. But yeah, from there it was a decent recovery, and the second race went real well.
It certainly did, and it seemed like you had the outside line down pat. I know that Kinetic puts a lot of effort into preparing for these races, so it must have seemed to you guys from the outset that the upper line was the faster one in these cars.
Yeah, it was quicker. I mean, if you're by yourself, diamonding the corner was the way to go, and you just had a lot better opportunity to defend up there because on the bottom you couldn't get the power down to make a pass. So that was one of my challenges in the first race, was trying to move up through the field, and it was definitely tricky.
Well, you're still in the top 10 in the Drivers' Championship, and 7th and a 2nd is a good points haul from tonight. Sets you up well for the last 3 rounds.
Yeah, I hope so. A little bit slipped in the standings, had a couple rough races, but we just need more races in Indiana. So Indy 500 will finish first. I got second, and then here again tonight. So being my home state, it's nice to pull some good finishes in those at the home tracks.
Might have to add an Indianapolis road course race onto next season. That's it, Ryan. I want to race at the Indy road course. That's the answer to the question you were asking before.
There you go. It only took you an hour.
Yeah, that's it. But Dean, thank you very much for joining us. Before we let you go, is there anyone that you'd like to thank from your garage?
Yeah, just thank the guys at Kinetic. I thought it was a pleasure working with them. Congrats to Will on the win. He was the dominant car this week. Did a great job with the set. So appreciate it, and thanks to you guys for doing the broadcast.
Dean Mole, second in a Kinetic 1-2 here at Lucas Oil. And final driver interview of the night for MFR, Aston Hurley, getting a podium in race 2. Aston, your pace was great in practice and you kept it consistent in the races. You were really pressuring the guys up ahead.
Yeah, look, I really didn't expect to be up the front, but I managed to do it, and yeah, the people around me were really quick, and it was really scary, to be honest, half the time.
Yeah, are you that familiar with the Silver Crown?
No, I've never driven these before. I kind of just took what I have from dirt and put it into this, and yeah, it paid off.
Certainly did. It seemed like especially in race 2, you, Dean Mole, and Matthias Magnussen all in that pack for second place. You were trying the inside and you almost got there once or twice, but it's very challenging to pass on the inside around here.
Yeah, it really is. I was trying to put as much pressure as I could on him, but I had pressure from behind as well. And yeah, I didn't want to wreck anybody, so I was trying to be cautious at the same time.
Well, regardless, to get on the podium, certainly a great way to end your night. And I guess that's a good points haul as well for you in terms of the championship.
Yeah, well, I'm in sportsman, so I'm not doing that many races with majors, but the ones that I have, I've put in some good positions, and yeah, should put me up a little bit.
Certainly should. Well, it's 2 teams on the podium, Kinetic and MFR. You are of MFR, Aston, so it's your turn to thank those who support you.
Yep, I'd like to thank WP Concreting, Snap-on Tools Blacktown, Aussie Signs and Designs, Andrews Crane Hire, Virtual Car Art, Little Tackers Boutique, Vassal Racing Team, Gearing Motorsports, and HPX Industries.
Aston Hurley, 3rd place in race 2. Great performances tonight. And then there was just us here in the commentary box to finish things off tonight. The Rich Vogler Classic certainly turned it up in terms of cautions, in terms of will he or won't he passes. But we move on to Watkins Glen and the Lotus 49 for the next round of the majors in a couple weeks' time. We certainly hope you join us here in the iRacing Esports Network for that. And also make sure, once again, you join us tomorrow for the V8 Scops Bathurst 1000. We're going all day on the iRacing Esports Network, 11 in the morning, Australian Eastern Standard Time. Make sure you're there. From SimSpeed TV, I'm Reese Gardner. Ryan Jones joined me in the commentary box, and Jay Kennedy on cameras making everything happen behind the scenes. Supporting the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention and supported by Majors Garage, this has been the international division of the Majors series from Lucas Oil Raceway. Will Leslie is your winner.
This is fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction. He's got rid of the outside. Both of them. Maloney.
Oh, he's taken Anderson. Anderson's up to
Oh my God. Oh, big crash. Oh my goodness. Half the field's going to get rolled.
Second very close. These guys are want to make their way through the field very quickly. Oh, there we go. Oh no, that's massive. This is it. This is over. I can't believe this. Oh my God.
God, what?
To prove it, I'm ready to do it, I can't be afraid now. Put me on the stage now, I'm ready to rage now. I feel like an animal stuck in a cage and I'm ready to break out. My time, none of you people can tell me to stop. This time, like the last time, you better get ready to race to the top. I'm ready to do this, show you what the truth is. I step on the field, it's time to get real, I'm feeling so ruthless. My time, none of you people can tell me to stop. Lower the lights down, hand over my crown.